WTN all across the Lone Star State.
It's GRN Alive.
Bringing you faith, fun, and facts.
Live from the studios of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Join us on the show. Call
877-757-9424.
877-757-9424.
And good morning to you. Welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Guadalupe Radio Network on this Friday. Boy, our conversation has already started here in the studio. A lot going on, and some big news, if you haven't heard, that Sissel will let you know about in just a moment. We need some prayers. But anyways, good to have you with us. This is GRN Alive. We do this twice a week. Joe and the team do it on Mondays from Houston, and we do it here in North Texas, broadcast across the network for this hour every Friday morning. We're glad to have you with us. It's Friday, October 2nd, Feast of the Guardian Angels, and we'll be talking about Guardian Angels a bit. Dr. Chris Malloy, how are you? Good morning.
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah, good
to
see
be here.
Yeah.
Great weather. Beautiful day.
Yeah, I love this. This is my favorite season of the year.
Absolutely.
And it's a good day because you have the day off, don't you? Technically,
exactly.
No class today.
Hence no bow tie.
Oh, there is no bow
Days
tie.
off, no bow tie.
Keeping it casual.
Okay, I don't think your mic's on, Alex. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right.
There we go.
Nope, still not on. Alex
Man,
will not be talking on the show today.
I will just be
apparently.
minding
That's
to
better.
guess
Yeah, there
what
we
I'm
go.
saying.
We
there
got
we go.
it.
Awesome.
Cecil Anderson's here. Alex Trevino with mission180.org with some new episodes that came
That's
out, right? You
right.
got like 70 new ones. People can
Like,
just binge watch them this weekend, right?
Yeah, I spent about 13 hours yesterday with two crazy toddlers and a 4-year-old running around uploading 70 episodes.
Sweet.
It was very fun.
Where did the toddler and the 2-year-old come in? They were helping you or
Oh,
what?
no, yeah, they're the best helpers ever. No, they actually behaved great yesterday. It was awesome.
HTML.
They let me get a lot done.
All right.
But yeah, 70 episodes. So.
Diane Xavier just sits here and does social media splendidly and laughs at us. But she's got the cameras on all of us, so check us out on Facebook and Twitter, right, Diane? Okay, the handle is at GRN Online. And real quickly, before we get to the news, because there is some pretty big news to tell you about this morning in case you haven't heard it, thanks to everybody out in West Texas. They had a prayer breakfast earlier this week. I understand it was really successful, and so congratulations to the crew out there, and thanks to all the folks that came out and supported that. And October 8th, which is 6 days from now, so that would be next Thursday, I believe. In Birmingham, there's going to be a Fishers of Men dinner, and Jim and Joy Pinto are going to be honored with an award, and their speaker is Damon Owens, Executive Director of the Theology of the Body Institute. So please go to our website if you're in Alabama or, I used to live in Mississippi. If you're in Mississippi, you can cross the state lines and go to the event, or Florida, get out there for that event. I do believe there are still some tickets available at grnonline.com, and get out there and support your local station. So, all right, so that's the news from GRN. And Sissel, well, everybody woke up this morning to some sort of pretty big news.
Yes, definitely. So it was reported very late last night that President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have both tested positive for COVID. They both got were tested after one of the senior counselors, Hope Hicks, to President Donald Trump, had tested positive. And so they got their test done and found out that they were also positive. And the president tweeted that tonight, the First Lady and I have tested positive for COVID-19. We'll begin our quarantine recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. There have been reports that they are doing well so far. This is pretty early on, I think.
Asymptomatic.
I don't. They haven't had any symptoms as of yet, so I don't know if it's just they're going to develop them or not. But they obviously need a lot of prayers. And of course, this is huge news. Trump is just now one of the many leaders that have gotten it, but he's a pretty big one who's gotten it. So a lot of people have been tweeting out or sending messages of support, mostly there are a lot of positive and some negative as well. Boris Johnson also was another leader who had it early on in the pandemic. He tweeted out his support, saying he knows what it's like and he's praying for them. And there's, again, kind of good and bad reactions. A lot of people are taking the high road, even if they don't agree with President Trump, including Tulsi Gabbard, who is a Hawaiian congresswoman who's a Democrat, but she tweeted out that my husband Abram and I are offering our best wishes and aloha to President Donald Trump and First Lady and praying for their speedy recovery, and also send their best wishes to their kids. And of course, you have a few people who are taking this time to criticize, because President Trump has been a little bit critical about the maybe overreaction sometimes with the COVID crisis. And so taking this time saying, think about, like, for instance, Malcolm Nance, who is a commentator, said, think about it. If both Trump and Pence go down, Pelosi could be president.
Yeah.
And which is not exactly a classy thing to say at this time.
Especially since Pence doesn't even have it. I mean,
right. Yeah, so far they're negative. Mike Pence and his wife have tested negative so far, but this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, I think it's times like this when something bad happens to one of your political enemies, it shows your character and how you respond. It's like when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. I don't know of anybody that even disagreed with her that rejoiced and didn't send condolences and prayers and things like that. I remember when the late-term abortionist was murdered in his church. Who was that? Tiller, was that his name?
So.
And the entire pro-life community just condemned it, and so it's got to be some consistency. And so our prayers obviously go out to the president and the first lady, and we pray for a speedy recovery.
Always will for the good for the people.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no matter what, because they're still made in God's image.
Yeah, so, gosh, I hope he gets better very quickly, but he is in quarantine, and I wonder if that's going to impact the next debate, because it's in less than 2 weeks.
Yes, so if he started quarantine as of yesterday, the next debate is October 15th. That would be just over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right on time.
Right on time.
So he should be back and okay, and we're going to... Mike Pence tweeted, Karen and I send our love and prayers for our dear friends, President Donald Trump and FLOTUS Melania. Pence tweeted, we join millions across America praying for their full and swift recovery. God bless you, President Trump, and our wonderful First Lady, Melania. So there you go.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and of course, obviously, when a world leader like this contracts this virus, things like the global markets dropped by, I think, 1.5% as of this morning. So lots of concerns and things to be praying about.
Yeah. All right. And we pray for his guardian angel to
Absolutely.
intercede for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quickly, because I know we're going to talk about angels. I think it's something that we don't spend enough time talking about. I think that maybe there was a time in church history where there was more emphasis on angels and their intercessory role in our lives. But there was a debate on Tuesday night that was really interesting. I don't know. I watched it. I don't know if y'all watched it.
Yes.
Any thoughts or reflections on how it went, especially maybe some of the topics that touch on our life as Catholics?
Well, I do think that there was way too much interruption, and the president seemed to be the bulk of that, honestly. That's my opinion. I know many people thought Wallace was unfair, but I thought Trump really, he led this interruption, and he sustained it. But that said, I thought he obviously had better content than Biden. Biden didn't really have much content, although he did much better than I thought he would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
I
pretty much
agree.
my reaction, too. And I think the big thing with Biden is he seems, personally pretty moderate. He doesn't seem as far left as, the left would want him to be. And I think that's what got exposed more than anything else that night was, sure, Biden probably won that debate, but he got exposed as a moderate. And I don't think that's good enough for the left. So,
it came out.
You think he'll lose votes for that?
I think so. I think he'll gain some too, actually. I think it might be an even. I'm curious to see how it plays out over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Interesting that Trump was asked about white supremacy and denouncing. It came out, Chris Wallace asked him that same question 4 years ago.
Right.
And it came up again. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the words Black Lives Matter came up at all in the debate. Trump brought up Antifa, but how can you talk about white supremacy and not even mention Black Lives Matter and not ask Biden, are you going to denounce Antifa? Chris Wallace never asked him that.
Yeah,
Black Lives Matter never came up in the conversation the whole hour and a half.
And Biden's response to that was that it's a myth. It's not a real organization.
Right.
I mean, that was pretty.
It's an idea.
Yeah, there you go.
It's an idea.
Oh.
That's right.
It is an idea.
I'm sure that group was slightly
really bad one,
assaulted,
but-
honestly.
That's the thing is that white supremacy was doing stuff in the 50s and 60s, perhaps elsewhere, but in the numbers, are any cities burning down right now because of this?
Yeah.
So
true.
I mean,
Not because of that, no.
This is the first time I actually sat down to watch one of the debates, and I was kind of reminded why
You picked a great one.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it was great because I could only watch about 40 minutes of it before I had to go pray with some sophomore girls, which is a much better thing to spend my evening doing. Honestly,
I think we all should have turned it off. And
right?
started praying.
Yeah, it was
All
for the best. But I'm interested because it was so hard with all the back and forth with each other that I wonder if people who haven't decided yet, was that actually helpful to them? Because I couldn't understand what they were talking about half the time just because of how much interrupting and how much it was just, I don't know. I've watched my brother's high school debates. They do 90-minute debates, and let's just say I think they could take lessons from them. High schoolers.
Real debates.
Real debates.
Yeah. The other thing is there's a lot of emphasis about abortion only in regard to whether Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. I'd like to see see a question about abortion itself. Is abortion something that a civilized society allows?
Yeah.
Forget Roe v.
Right.
Wade, because even if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it just goes back to the states, right? That doesn't eliminate legalized abortion. It might in some states. But it's always in regard to Roe v. Wade. Forget Roe v. Wade. Do we want to be a country that allows babies to be ripped out of their mother's wombs?
Right, absolutely.
I went to an Abby Johnson event last night, so I got a lot of talking
you're hot off the
points.
press.
Yeah, I'm fired
locked
up.
and loaded.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think there's so much that just is not spoken about that we really need to be talking about in these debates, and they go unspoken.
And so that speaks to what is like the roots of law. And are we simply a positivist, the law is what's written, or is there something deeper that all can appeal to? And that, for instance, if I were Amy Coney Barrett, I would say, yes, I will uphold the law.
Yeah.
The law means more than what's written.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, that goes both ways. There's this, the originalists and the revisionists, if you will. But I think from a Catholic perspective, law is deeper. There's something before the Constitution that we owe allegiance to.
Mm-hmm. Maureen Ferguson from the Catholic Association is going to be joining us here in about 10 minutes to talk about Amy Coney Barrett. She put out a very positive statement. Cardinal Dolan put out a very positive statement about Amy Coney Barrett. I don't know what's not to like about her. Right. Maybe talk about this, the People of Praise group that she's allegedly involved in Indiana. And I looked at their mission statement and I'm like, wow, what's wrong with that? That sounds like a really neat group. But it's a long mission statement. I didn't read the whole thing. But anyways, if you'd like to join us, dear listener, and you have some takes on the president's diagnosis of COVID, or what's going on with the debates, or what happened, or Amy Coney Barrett, we invite you to join us. Also, as if that wasn't enough, later in the hour, we're going to be talking about Life Chain. Sharon Albertson's going to join us. I don't know if you've ever done a Life Chain. Those things are awesome. Yes. Public witness to pro-life, and also Box of Joy is coming up. You can help a youngster get one gift for Christmas. Jim Kavnar from Cross Catholic Outreach is going to join us as well. And today's the Feast of the Guardian Angels. Well,
awesome feast.
Tell us about angels, Dr. Malloy.
These angels, just awesome. And we don't really pay attention to them. My daughter every night prays to her guardian angel. And it started rubbing off on me. I was thinking, you know what? My guy's out of business. I never pray to him. It's not a dogma of the faith that we each have a guardian angel, but it is a tradition that goes all the way back at least to Jerome. It's rooted in Jesus' words, "They're angels in heaven," right? Talking about the little ones.
Yeah.
So the church has a real consistent tradition and theological tradition saying we have guardian angels because we're weak and we've got a rough road to hoe. So even if we hadn't committed original sin, Thomas Aquinas' opinion is, although our souls wouldn't need the guidance of angels because our souls were perfectly ordered, our bodies would, because this world is precarious. And so now that we're in a fallen and redeemed state, we need help in the little things in life. This world is, we don't want to get new agey, but this world is packed with angelic intercession. It's awesome. And it's kind of like more is better, if you will, rather than the less is more approach in traditional Catholic theology, that yes, there are scientific laws that govern the universe, but there are angels that attend that governance, right? There are angels that watch over it. And there's demons too. Do you know the Antichrist has a guardian angel?
Is that right?
What?
the Antichrist. He's a human being.
Yeah, so he'd have to. Everybody
guess
would
he'd
be
have to,
assigned.
yeah.
And the thing is, there's many Antichrists, right? We know from the St. John's epistle. It's not. There is one
Right.
big one to
So
come.
for those uneducated that don't know that answer, like, can you tell them a
I'm
little
so
more
glad Alex
about?
is
not,
here.
not
this-
anybody in this
He
studio,
takes it
of
for
course.
us.
You
I
guys
know,
know it
the
all,
answer,
man.
but you're the one talking, so
Exactly.
Could you please elaborate on that for our listeners?
So in other words, the Antichrist in the Bible is a vague figure. There are some details.
Yeah.
But history shows us more and more. This is John Henry Newman. History shows us more and more when you get figures like Nero, and then you get Robespierre, you get Julian the Apostate. We could probably add Hitler. Political figures, by the way. They're not really religious. They're political primarily. And as history rolls on, we get more and more of a picture of how bad this dude's going to be.
Yeah.
At any rate, he has a guardian. The sinners have guardians, non-Catholics, every human being, because God loves us. We've each got assigned a guardian angel to get us to heaven.
Interesting. One other thing that I have read, and you can weigh in on this, Dr. Malloy, and anybody can, is that sometimes people treat their guardian angels like they're pets.
Yeah.
They name them, and I want to do this, and can you do this? They're not our pets, right?
No.
They're actually a lot brighter than us.
That doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a good idea.
Yeah.
No.
So we shouldn't name our guardian angels.
I don't know
'cause
who it was, but some priest said, you really should not.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing to do. But at any rate, we need their help. We should beseech them for help.
Yeah.
Please pray. Now, the other thing about this is we tend to think that God's grace is like a spigot, like it's always on. Well, some of it depends on whether we ask for help.
Right.
Same thing with the angel.
Wow.
If we succor the angel with our affection, he's more likely to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a constant radiator. I call it the space heater God, or the space heater angel. Like, it's always there. You don't need to do anything. No, they interact.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to talk to you
Yeah.
unless you're special. But
Yeah. And also, the other misconception is when someone dear to you dies, they do not become an angel in heaven.
Oh my
It
gosh.
does say
Yeah.
New agey.
in Matthew 22:30, at the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven. I think that would be
Like.
more like the intellect, right? Where our intellect is more enlightened. And also, something interesting about angels is they're each their own species. Yeah, so we all share a species, right? But
Hey,
every single angel is its own species.
we have to describe how that works.
Yeah.
The difference between a blue whale and a snail is a big difference.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about blue and humpback. Blue and snail, like big species
Yeah.
difference. That's how different one angel is from another.
Every single one.
Single one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there are
How many are there?
That's the thing. You know what Aquinas' opinion? There's no, we don't have any knowledge about it.
Right.
Aquinas' opinion is human beings obviously have to be the fewest in the universe. There are more carbon atoms, obviously, than there are living things, etc. So pyramid, we're the most complex. There's the fewest of us, relatively speaking. But the angels, it goes the inverse pyramid, so that there are more seraphim than there are cherubim, more cherubim than thrones, etc., all the way down to the angels. The guardian angels are the lowest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's the complete opposite of how we're viewed in that period.
Yes. And the reason he says that is that God's generosity, it's definitional that in the laws of physics, we have to have more carbon than humans. But God's generosity dominates in the spiritual. So he's more generous with those who worship him in charity, the seraphim.
Yeah. There's also a great story. I don't know if you are familiar with this. When Mother Angelica was trying to find a location to put her basically the radio signal, the towers, I guess you could say. And she goes to this one site right outside of Birmingham. And it was, from a engineering standpoint, not what anybody would say should be the place,
Not
because it was
ideal.
either too high or too low. So she's there with some of her angels, and she looks up, and this is told in Raymond Arroyo's book, and she sees Saint Michael, the archangel. And she says at that moment, she says, "We're putting it here." And the engineer says, "Mother Angelica, I think you're mistaken. This is not a good place to put our radio towers." And she said, "No, it's going to be right here."
Holy cow.
Because angels can assume bodies, so they can be seen. They don't naturally have bodies, but there have been people that have seen. There's a lot of stories like this of people that have seen angels taking on human bodies.
Yeah.
And that's I hope I got the main points of that.
That's
Some of the small details may have been off, but that's so we can credit an archangel for the very fact that we're doing radio broadcasting
That
Exactly.
is
this morning.
awesome. Well, yeah, people will say that they'll be in a car crash and then someone helped them, but there's no trace of that person.
Yeah.
Or the way the car lands. So these angels are ready to steer the event just a little bit so that it is in God's care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, we have got to take a break. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about, last week we were speculating because the next day President Trump was going to make his announcement about the Supreme Court. And,
that's right.
We were talking about, is it going to be Amy Coney Barrett or Barbara Lagoa down in Florida? Well, of course, we know that last Saturday he selected Amy Coney Barrett, and there's already been some criticism of her and a lot of praise that's been dished out as well. And Maureen Ferguson is senior fellow for the Catholic Association. And we're going to take a 1-minute break and get her on the phone and talk about this. And we also invite your calls, 877-757-9424. This is GRN Alive Friday edition. Thanks for joining us.
What is the new evangelization? It is the invitation for each Catholic to renew their relationship with Jesus Christ and His Church. The major focus of the new evangelization calls for all Catholics to be evangelized and then to go forth to evangelize others. This is Len Oswald, president of the Guadalupe Radio Network, and I wanted to assure you that the GRN is totally dedicated and committed to sharing the gospel message far and wide in order to bring as many souls as possible closer to Jesus Christ through His Church. When someone tunes into the GRN, the Holy Spirit works in those private interactions, and their hearts are open to that divine touch. God's plan is that our listeners are transformed, then the world will be transformed. This is why the new evangelization is so important. We know from our listeners' feedback that lives are being changed forever. This has been your GRN Family Minute. We are your Catholic radio. Radio for your soul.
All right, we are back, and this is GRN Live Friday morning. It's been a fun conversation. We always appreciate you joining in on the conversation. Don't feel, we've got a lot of people in the studio, but there's always room for one more voice, right? And Cecil could take your call, 877-757-9424. And we're getting Maureen Ferguson from the Catholic Association on the line with us. But Alex, you're talking, I saw this news, Carlos Acutis. What is this, the story about him?
Yeah, he's the venerable Carlo Acutis. He died from leukemia when he was 16 in the year 2006, and he's being beatified next week in Assisi, where he's from. And they basically uncovered his body, and he's incorrupt after 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to do some work on his face, but he's literally dressed like a teenager today. It's incredible. He's wearing Nike shoes, jeans, like a hoodie, a zip-up hoodie.
I thought I saw an image of that.
It is
okay,
awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so you can go venerate him for 2 weeks now, like a week before the beatification and the week after.
Tell us about him, about his life.
Yeah, so he was a computer programming genius. Apparently, he hosted a website that would document Eucharistic miracles from around the world in order to push that devotion all around the world, before Facebook and all that stuff. So he built a website to push this, and loved the Catholic Church, loved the Eucharist, loved the Virgin Mary, and made his own mother become more serious about her Catholic faith before he passed away.
All right.
It's an incredible story.
All right. Very good. Thanks for that report. I saw the story and I just skimmed it and I thought, maybe we'll talk about that. And I'm glad you came with the goods.
Oh, it's the one that I sort of read the most. It wasn't even in your email. I apologize, but
that's all right. That's all right. We can always call audibles on this program. All right. Maureen Ferguson joining us, senior fellow for the Catholic Association. They're located online at thecatholicassociation.org. And she is, I think, could explain how she's happy with the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to Supreme Court. There's a big fight ahead, but she joins us to talk about that. Maureen, good morning. Thank you for being with us today.
Good morning. As you say, I'm delighted to be with you to talk about the very exciting nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you put a statement on the website. I'll just read part of it. Says, this is from you. Judge Barrett is a brilliant and esteemed constitutional scholar who is admired as much for her magnanimous heart as for her intelligence. In the hearings, Americans will get to know an extraordinary woman, a principled and independent judge, a loving mother. She seems to kind of have the full package. Mother of 7, 2 adopted. She's got a Down syndrome baby. She seems like a splendid person, not to mention what I'm sure a great judge.
That's right. I couldn't be more excited about the nomination of Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court. She clearly has reached the top of the legal profession. She's universally admired as a scholar of the law. She's taught law at the University of Notre Dame for 20 years now. She was a clerk as a younger woman for Justice Scalia. So this is just an amazing opportunity to kind of solidify the Scalia legacy on the court. She said nothing will sharpen your legal skills more than having to prepare Justice Scalia for oral arguments and having to go toe-to-toe with him. So she's very much sort of in the legal tradition of originalism and textualism and Justice Scalia's philosophy of the law. So that's fantastic. But, equally important, I feel like in this cultural moment, is just the type of person that she is. She's a person who is clearly grounded in her faith. It is her faith and putting her talents to good use that has clearly brought her to these heights. And she, all the while, she hasn't sacrificed what she says is her most important job of raising her children, and just her incredible generosity in her family life, in welcoming 2 children from Haiti into her family as part of this precious Barrett clan. And then, of course, her youngest is a little boy, an adorable little boy who has Down syndrome, who she says is everybody's favorite sibling. So she's really like a paragon. It's unbelievable that she has had such generosity and dedication to her family. But clearly, God has given her special talents and brilliance in the law, and she has put that to good use.
Let me ask you about, obviously, you love her. I think everybody here on this side also is in favor of her. I think she seems like an amazing woman, but not everybody is excited about her. In fact, Archbishop Charles Chaput has, former Archbishop of Philadelphia and Denver, warned of what he calls a virus of anti-Catholic bigotry. And he warned that public attacks on her faith will constitute a wider threat to religious liberty. And he said this is, quote, a harbinger of future attacks on the church itself and on any Catholic who holds the enduring moral witness, end quote. So speak about that. The attacks are just beginning. They've hacked a website. They're criticizing this People of Praise group that she was allegedly involved in. What do you make of what the other side is saying about her?
Well, you're exactly right. And the attacks on Judge Barrett's faith began several years ago, actually, when she was a Notre Dame law professor and was then nominated to go on the 7th Circuit to become a judge in Chicago. So she had to receive Senate confirmation then. And clearly her resume, it's obvious that she's a devout Catholic when you look at her resume and the speeches she's given. And so a few years ago, when she was before the Senate Judiciary Committee, several of the senators, including Senator Dick Durbin, Senator Dianne Feinstein, they questioned her in a manner that is completely inappropriate and inconsistent with the Constitution, because our Constitution, of course, specifically says there shall be no religious test for office. But they grilled her on her faith, asking her questions like, do you consider yourself an Orthodox Catholic? And at that moment, I think she became an instant hero kind of in the heartland, because she didn't back down one bit. She had this sort of steely but beautiful response. And she just said, if you're asking me if I take my faith seriously, yes, I do. But I'm also a lawyer. And I'm, a professional, and I know how to do that. The role of a judge is to be impartial and make decisions based on the law and the Constitution. And the role of a judge is not to engage in public policy. So she made this very clear distinction between the role of a judge and her personal faith, which obviously is very important to her and obviously grounds her in a way that, makes her such a beautiful and wonderful person. So these attacks on her faith started several years ago. They've stepped up, particularly sort of in the Twitter universe and the late night comedians, really just making vile and vulgar jokes that aren't even funny at all.
Maureen,
but she has come under great attack for her faith, and we're probably going to see more of that. It may be more subtle because I think the Democrats on the committee realize there could be a backlash.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think the questions are going to be this round, and how will they be distinctive from last round?
Well, last round it was pretty naked anti-Catholicism. I think this time around they're treading a little bit more carefully. They're really casting about to kind of figure out how to attack her. And as you mentioned earlier, they're attacking this group that she may be affiliated with called the People of Praise, which is an ecumenical Christian charismatic. It's mostly Catholic, but it's ecumenical group that Pope Francis has praised. Pope Francis has praised the sort of charismatic movement within the church. And this group, the People of Praise, they're known for getting together for Bible study and community involvement, serving the poor of the community. I mean, there's a wonderful piece in today's Wall Street Journal that describes just who the People of Praise is as a group and what their members do and what they're committed to. So I think that's an important piece for your listeners to look up, but also the left has tried to attack this group used to use the term handmaid. Now, to the left, I feel like people who are not educated in the faith, who are really quite ignorant, they've tried to use this term handmaid in the most absurd way, really connecting that term to this dystopian novel written by Margaret Atwood called The Handmaid's Tale. So they're trying to say, if we confirm Amy Barrett will be living in a theocracy like in The Handmaid's Tale. It's absurd. It's completely absurd. There's no connection. And anyone who is at all biblically literate knows that the term handmaid is a reference to Mary, the mother of Jesus, from the Gospel of Luke. When the angel Gabriel appears to her and she says, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord." I mean, Catholic school children across America and many others pause at noon to pray the Angelus, in which we quote from the Gospel of Luke. So
Maureen,
this is not...
I'm sorry, Maureen. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so this is not a foreign language to us, but to people who are kind of ignorant about the faith, the language of faith can appear very foreign to them, and they're jumping to all kinds of crazy conclusions and, making all kinds of sort of ridiculous and unfounded criticisms.
Yeah, there's a lot that's going to come out of this, and I think ultimately our faith is going to shine brightly in Amy Coney Barrett. Maureen, we only have a few more minutes. I want to ask you about the timing, because the Senate Judiciary Committee is going to begin hearings October 12th. And there's expected to be a vote on the nomination October 22nd. The Democrats are already saying they're using delay tactics. So do you think, especially in light, I don't know if Trump's the news today with COVID will impact this at all, or maybe it may be irrelevant. But do you think it's possible that the Senate can have a vote before the election?
I think it's definitely possible. I think Senator Mitch McConnell, who's the Republican leader in the Senate, I think he is a brilliant man and an incredible tactician, and I think he's determined to get a vote on this nomination. Now, on the other hand, the Democrats will stop at nothing to stop this if they can. They, sound like Chicken Little, that the sky is falling on abortion rights, and they're going to pull out anything that they can. Of course, I'll just remind your listeners that even if the Supreme Court were to overturn Roe versus Wade, that simply means that abortion law goes back to the states, and every state can make an individual decision using the democratic process, which is how it ought to be, to decide on abortion policy within the state. So states like New York would have very, very liberal abortion laws. So the left tries to equate the overturning of Roe v. Wade with abortion being illegal. But if, and that's a big if, because of Supreme Court precedent and how complicated it is to unravel.
Maureen,
But,
we have 1 minute left. I have a quick question. How do you think this is going to impact the election? How do you think the hearing process will affect, say, the vote?
Well, hopefully, people who want to see a justice like Amy Coney Barrett, who will, not see her role as a judge being a policymaker, but rather interpreting the law. Hopefully that will motivate people to vote. I think Democrats are they kind of don't know what to do with her because she's so obviously a brilliant judge. She's so obviously qualified, and she's so obviously such a good person that they kind of don't know how to handle it. And many of the Democrats are simply refusing to meet with her, which I think is quite disrespectful. But so I don't know how this will impact the elections, and it may not impact it a lot if the Democrats sort of stand down and back off. But it's just there's so much in the mix in this election. I think nobody can really make a prediction.
Yeah, Maureen, thanks so much. Really appreciate your work and all the others at the Catholic Association. I invite all of our listeners to go to their website, thecatholicassociation.org. Maureen Ferguson is Senior Fellow for the Catholic Association. We hope to talk to you again very soon. Thank you, Maureen.
Happy to talk anytime. Thanks.
God bless.
Right. Appreciate it very much. Good to speak with her. And we're going to go to a break and talk about Life Chain here in just a second. Boy, this show is just flying by, isn't it? The time. We need more time. But I will thank Cardinal Dolan, who said that Judge Amy Coney Barrett is the, quote, best candidate for the Supreme Court vacancy, and said she, like her potential successor, faces biases due to her sex, family, and faith. So that from Cardinal Dolan. All right, 1 minute break, and back with Sharon Albertson to talk about Life Chain. If you've not done this, it's coming up this Sunday. I've done it a few times. It's a great way to have public witness to the fact that we believe in the dignity of every single human life, whether they're in the womb or outside the womb. So we'll be back after this.
Solidarity Health Share is rebuilding Catholic healthcare in America. We conform to the moral guidelines of the Catholic Church so that you never have to worry about your healthcare dollars paying for anything that violates your conscience. From conception to natural death, we strive to serve all healthcare needs, protect human life, celebrate families, and promote the dignity of all people. Join Solidarity Health Share in restoring and rebuilding authentic Catholic healthcare by signing up at solidarityhealthshare.org, a sponsor of the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Pray. The Story of Patrick Peyton is coming to theaters nationwide on October 9th. The film tells the inspiring true story of a poor Irish immigrant who set sail for America in 1928 with dreams of becoming a millionaire, but with the help of the most iconic celebrities of Hollywood, ends up spending his life championing the message, the family that prays together stays together. The miraculous true story of Venerable Patrick Peyton, his heroic life of perseverance and prayer, is coming to theaters nationwide on October 9th. For more information, praythefilm.com.
All right, we are back, and this is GRN Alive. Can you believe 22 minutes is all we have left in the show? Great to have you with us. Feel free to call in, and I know this. It's hard to get a word in edgewise, but we want to hear from you. 877-757-9424. What are you pointing at?
The number.
I got it memorized. Come on.
So do the listeners.
Oh, yeah, of course. I got to tell them the number if I want to get them to call, right?
That's right.
All right. So Life Chain has been going on for quite some time, and since 1987, in fact. For 33 years, life chains have formed across the United States and Canada, the world, to make a public, prayerful, peaceful witness against legalized abortion, standing united in prayer and repentance on the first Sunday of every October, which just happens to be this Sunday. Sharon Albertson is a life chain coordinator, and she joins us for a few minutes here to encourage everybody to get out there this weekend and show support for life. Sharon, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. While we're on the phone, the other phone is probably going to be ringing. So
Don't take it.
Hope to get... Yes, I will. I'll keep talking to you. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll try to make it interesting enough for you that you don't go run off to another phone call, okay? So, anyways, yeah, just tell them to call you back. Don't call in the next 5 minutes or so. But anyways, Sharon, tell our listeners, I know, we're broadcasting across many states, 21 million potential listeners. They're not all listening this morning, but a lot of people, and there's going to be a life chain regardless of where you are, somewhere close by, right? Tell us about it.
Right. Last year, life chains took place in 1,600 cities and towns across the United States and Canada. Many of those have multiple locations, so that 2,000 locations were listed on the website. This year, there's a brand new, wonderful website bringing us into the 21st century with lots of pictures and so forth. So it's been a little challenge for all of those coordinators to jump on to the new website. But if people don't find one in their location, they can call the number that's on the website, and our new, wonderful national director will direct them to the right spot. Or even they could call me, because I've got last year's list. And almost all of those are going to do a life chain again. There are a few places where the pastor or the bishop or Monsignor or someone is saying, oh, insurance-wise, we just can't do it this year. But most of the places, the people are saying, it's outside. It's outside. We want to be outside doing something positive, and we're already socially distanced.
Yeah.
We stand 20 steps apart and hold a professionally printed sign that's provided at the site. About 5 years ago, the former national director opened it up to beautiful baby pictures. There are never aborted baby pictures at a life chain. There's a place and time for those, but this is a family event. So the signs are adoption, the loving option, Jesus forgives and heals, abortion kills children, Lord forgive us and our nation, abortion hurts women, life the first inalienable right, el aborto mata niños, pray to end abortion, el aborto lastima las mujeres. You can tell I'm not Spanish.
I think you're doing great.
Pregnant need help, 1-800-712-HELP. So we're out there for a positive influence on the people going by. And every year we hear of people. I was just talking to a coordinator in another state last week who said he thought the man was going to come right to where he was standing. Instead, the man came as close as he could, rolled down the window, and said, see that little girl in the back seat? Thank you for being here. She's here because you all were here a couple of years ago, and my wife decided not to abort.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. I remember doing it one time, and I had my daughters with me, and they were counting how many people would come by and honk and do the thumbs up. Every now and then you get the opposite response, but it was like, at least, here in Texas, it's, we're a very pro-life state, and it was very, very overwhelmingly positive. And, it's even on social media, most of us have friends who agree with us, and you don't typically see the other side, but when you're out publicly, there may be somebody who may not agree with you, but that prayerful, peaceful witness, and I know, Sharon, you would agree, you're not screaming and yelling or trying to get attention. Just seeing the peaceful, the families, the joy, that's the witness, isn't it? It's not a protest. It's prayer.
Right. There are songs and prayers on the back of the signs to be praying during that time. It's really a meaningful time for others as well. Let me tell you a story about a 9th grade boy who was nervous about being out there and finally got up the courage to go. The next week in English class, the teacher asked them to write a paragraph about what they had done over the weekend. And, okay, so shall I write about the life chain? He got up the courage again, and the teacher showed his paper then to some of the other teachers and called his mom. His mom thought he was in trouble, and the teacher said, no, some of the other teachers and I have had abortions, and we need to know who we can talk to. Who do you recommend?
Oh, wow.
That's
so
awesome.
The ripples go out. We've had a number of stories where high school kids have gone back to school and have encouraged their friends not to have an abortion. So, and then also 40 Days for Life was started by Life Chain coordinators.
Oh, really? And that's going on
That's
right
fantastic,
now also.
yeah.
That's happening also. And also,
Yeah,
I think
so-
it's significant, Ray, as we approach an election with a pretty clear, and I know you're not political, and I'm not going to go there specifically, but it is, obviously an issue, and people need to be aware that this is an issue that is important as we head to the voting booth as well.
In some locations where they're having life amendments or something like that on the ballot, they are having vote pro-life. Life Chain is not meant to be political in a way of taking sides one way or the other for candidates, but for sure issues are important. So this is a good time in those states for them to remind people to vote pro-life.
Yeah. All right, so just have a minute with you, Sharon. If people are like, all right, I want to do this. I want to find my location. What should they do? Where do they find the closest Life Chain this weekend? And also, it's going to be Sunday afternoon in most cases, right? Or in all cases?
Most cases this Sunday afternoon. However, the alternate date this year is November 1st. So there's plenty of time still for people to put together a Life Chain.
Okay.
And the new wonderful website is lifechain.org, and there's a way to sign up on there. Then if they're in Texas, lifechain.net has the list of the Life Chains across Texas on it still.
That's cool.
So that would be the one that I'm especially working with.
Yeah. All right, Sharon, thank you so much. You can go answer those other calls now, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, good to
Thanks
talk
for
with
calling.
you. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you so much. Again, lifechain.org, I think, is the general one. And then if you're
is national.
in Texas, lifechain.net. All right, Sharon, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right.
And
All right. Let's talk again.
yeah, we certainly will. God bless you.
God bless.
And it's great. I just think that it's good to bring the kids out.
Yeah.
And,
Definitely.
of course, you got to make sure they're safe. And all the times that I've done it, I've probably done it at least 6, 7, 8 times. You might have a couple people that don't like what you're doing, but it's always been very safe, and it's just awesome. Most people are very happy that you're there.
Yeah, and the kids, they need to experience that cultural fight for truth and good.
Mm-hmm.
They really do.
Yeah.
I think otherwise they grow up like relativists.
And just in case anybody's saying, "Oh, that's when my NFL football team is playing Sunday," all the more reason
That's right.
to go out to Life Chain.
Priorities.
Yeah, priorities. Okay, Diane, you didn't hear that. Diane's a big sports fan. Okay. All right, let's one more topic to talk about during the program. This is GRN Alive. We got the whole crew here. Phone number 877-757-9424. And we are joined now for the remainder of the program with Jim Kavnar, who is president of Cross Catholic Outreach. They're located at crosscatholic.org. And they have a program called Box of Joy, an annual Christmas gift ministry organized by local Catholic schools, parishes, and groups across the U.S., facilitated by Cross Catholic Outreach. Packing boxes of joy with toys and other gifts, participants bless children suffering from extreme poverty by sharing the joy of Christmas and planting seeds of hope. Jim, good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning, Dave. Great to be with you again.
Yeah, my family, we've done this a time or two and really got a lot out of it. Tell us about the program. We don't have a lot of time. People are thinking, Christmas? Come on, this is early October. But we got to, you can't start this in mid-December. You got to get planning with it, right?
Yeah, well, we're hoping to bless 100,000 very, very poor kids this year with Christmas gifts. So you got to get started early because we need parishes and schools and groups in parishes to organize to pack boxes of joy. And if they go to boxofjoy.org, they can sign up. We'll send them the boxes. We'll send them all the materials that they need. So if we can get the ball rolling now, we can have those $100,000 gifts, not $100,000 gifts, but 100,000 gifts. Now, last year we shipped out 76,000 boxes of joy. It went to 7 countries: Haiti, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Grenada, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, and last year it went to the Bahamas because there were hundreds of kids in shelters because of a big hurricane that hit there last year. So at this time, they were in shelters and had nothing. So we arranged to get some of the boxes of joy there. So anybody, parishes, groups in parishes, it could be the men's club, the Knights of Columbus, honor society in the school, whatever. If they go to boxofjoy.org and sign up, they can participate, and we'll give them all they need and all the suggestions of how they can pack these boxes, in the family, and we'll tell them where to drop them off. Our trucks will pick them up, and we'll see that they make it to the kids overseas.
So there's a real participation where it's not just sending a check-in. You're real actively, shopping, wrapping, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. We encourage people, take a look at the list that we send, because it's not only kind of fun things, hard candy, not chocolate, because it'll melt.
Yeah.
Going into hot climates
It'll melt
now.
before it leaves
And
Texas.
they might be sitting in a container for a week on the dock, in the bright sun. So no chocolate, or you have a puddle at the bottom of your box. But hard candy and school supplies, sometimes socks and shirts and soccer balls, you name it.
Jim, I enjoyed this so much last year because I have two daughters. Last year they would have been 15 and 11. And so, as you know, and maybe some of the listeners don't know, you get to choose the gender and the approximate age of who you're going to buy for. So we chose kids about their age, girls about their age. But it was so cool because we went to the store and I said, okay, get all the things you would like and put them in the box. They each got a box. And I said, but none of it's going to be for you. It's going to be for somebody else. And so they got to go shopping for all the things that they would like, but they don't get to keep it. And I think there's a good lesson there.
That's great.
And so it's a great family activity. I highly recommend it. I'm definitely going to do it again this year.
So, Jim, this complements the angel trees at parishes, right? So we don't need to see a competition. Angel trees, the parishes do it probably with the local community. But Box of Joy, this is primarily international, right?
Oh, it's entirely international. And when we say we serve the poorest of the poor, I can tell you that without Box of Joy, these are kids who never before got a Christmas gift.
Wow.
I remember the very first year we did this, we were just a test, and 2,500 boxes went to Guatemala, and I went down to help pass them out, and I talked to the parents and the teachers, who organized the distribution. And I asked them, I said, do these kids here ever get a Christmas gift? And without an exception, they said, oh, no, never. And I said, well, how do they celebrate Christmas? And one grandmother told me, says, well, when we can afford it, we have tamales for Christmas. And I thought, well, how did last year go? No, we couldn't afford it. So that's the level of poverty we're talking about, kids who never see a Christmas gift. And so, of course, they're thrilled, and it's exciting to see what they like the most. Once I was in Haiti helping distribute boxes, and we're in this Catholic school, and I think we were with the first graders or second graders. And so I asked a little boy, what do you like best? Through a translator, of course. And he fished around in the box and held up a toothbrush.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that tells you something, doesn't it?
No
That the thing he liked the best wasn't the toys, the candy, the coloring book, the crayons. It was the toothbrush. And I'll give you another hint. The girls, especially, the girls in the 10 to 14 age group, their favorite thing was scented soap. So if you're packing a box for a girl in that age group, get them some soap that's scented. They love that because that's something they'd never get, So, and school things. I mean, I've been to schools in Central America where the kids share pencils. I mean, they can't even afford to buy a pencil, and so pencils, ballpoint pens, coloring, school supplies, erasers, all those kind of things they love because it's hard for them to get it.
Yeah.
They're really, really poor. So I agree. It complements Angel Tree, which reaches out to the poor around us, which as Catholics we do. But this gives us a way to reach out to the poor in a very tangible way.
Yeah.
in the church, which is our church is global.
Yeah.
So that here's a way to do something tangible that touches children globally.
Yeah, that's so cool. Jim, down to the last couple minutes, boxofjoy.org is the website. Jim Kavanaugh, president of Cross Catholic Outreach, they're the ones that are organizing this. Just from a nuts and bolts standpoint, Jim, what people want to do it either individually or get a group together, like you said. Just got 2 minutes. What should people do?
Well, if they go to boxofjoy.org, they'll see a menu across the top, and it says sign up. And then that's where a group could sign up, and it can be, a parish as a whole. It could be a school, or it could be a group within the parish, that wants to do this. Like in my own parish, there was a woman who really got excited about it and organized a group of her friends. And they're the ones that every year get the boxes and get them filled and all of that. So they can sign up, and we'll send everything that they need to them. Or, people who can't do that, we have what we call Create a Box Online. And you can go online and select, what kind of a box you want and for what age group, and we'll pack it for you, and you can send a donation. We ask everybody for a donation of $9 a box to pay for the shipping, and part of that will go to the local parish or Catholic school or whatever it is overseas that distributed it. It'll go to them as a grant to support their ongoing programs. And so we ask for that and a contribution for the toys and other things that go in the box.
All right.
So there's a way you could do it even if you can't participate locally and pack it yourself.
All right, Jim. Hey, thanks for your time this morning. Boxofjoy.org. I'm going to do it, and I hope many other people listening will as well. It's a great way to bless kids their only Christmas present, one Christmas present, and bring joy to them. Jim, great talking with you this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Dave. God bless you and all your listeners.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Good talking to him. All right, we got about a minute. We're going to have an after show, and Dr. Malloy's still here. Wow, this is such a pleasant surprise.
It's awesome. It's called Dead Day or Reading Day.
Dead Day.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So
Reading Day sounds a little bit more positive.
Yeah, it was definitely Dead Day for
I would
me.
say,
It was never a reading day. It was
sleep in.
It was an extra day to sleep in. Exactly.
Midterms. Yeah. Midterms next week.
Yeah.
Chris, it was funny. I told my students we got a midterm on Monday, and they said, "What?" I said,
"Well, you
want to take it a week after Dead Day?"
Yeah.
Anyway.
You think they actually take this date, or they just?
No.
They will.
Well, if you sleep in, at least you're recovering from lack of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
that's
I do
right.
think it's very important.
Yeah. All right. It's Dead Day.
Early
Reading
midterms,
day.
though, I always appreciated like Monday or Tuesday midterms, not
Absolutely.
like the next Friday.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to have an after show. Sissel comes on the other side of the glass and joins us, and Diane has done a great job on our social media platforms. So once the music stops and we go to break, that's the end of the radio portion of the show. We thank you very much for joining us, and don't forget, Monday, same time, Joe and the crew are going to have GRN Alive Monday. I don't think Joe's going to mind me saying this. Do you know who his guest on Monday is going to be?
He just posted about it, so you're good to say it. You're good to say it.
Father, is it James Altman?
Yes.
Father James Altman. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been tracking that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Right. So tune in. All right, Monday, same time, Joe and the crew, Father James Altman, courageous priest. And so anyways, stick around for the after show on the social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, and have a great weekend. And don't forget about your guardian angel. Ask for his intercession. God bless you. All right. You're catching mid-class here with Dr. Malloy. You're getting a free University of Dallas theology class, okay? You hanging around? You got to go. You got to go. Okay.
It's dead day.
All right.
He's gotta go.
Well, yeah, he's got to go read with his students. So, all right. Your mic's not on. Yeah, you turn your mic on. Yeah.
I got to create a torture chamber exam for the students.
Okay. What do you give away like the first
Warning to
give
Alex is still trembling.
Give away the first answers.
That's the funny thing. I used to get nightmares. It was in doctorate program. I got nightmares. I'm in a class and I've never attended it. And I'd wake up thinking, I'm going to flunk this class.
Bet you're not in.
Then I'm not in.
That's a crazy dream.
Awful.
School dreams are the worst.
They
When you
are.
think
Shows
that
some
you
deep-seated-
didn't submit something, even though
Yes.
you did, but it's like weeks later, and you go, I didn't submit that essay.
Yeah.
Or did I correct that one thing in that
Yes.
essay? Never look back over old essays, by the way.
Yeah.
Never do it after you've submitted it.
Even with all the comments we make? See?
No. Well, after that, but before you get the grade.
But years
don't
later,
look
okay.
don't look at it after you've submitted
Oh,
it before you get
yes.
a grade. Because
Yes,
you'll see
agreed.
something and go, why didn't I say that?
Agreed.
Or that comma is not good.
Now, you never recycle exams, do you? Is it always new, always fresh? Or do you?
No, they carry over. I guard them really closely.
Yeah. But if somebody had like a sibling that took the class 3 years ago, would
It will be different, but
Yeah.
there could be some similar content, yeah.
Okay. Your students should listen to this show because
They
they're
can
getting
get
all the
some
inside
strategies.
information, right? Okay. All right, cool. Well, look, well, hang on as long as you want. I keep thinking, you
I gotta finish this
you stick
bottle.
around. Okay, yeah. Get him another water, will you?
There you go.
All right, so what y'all think of the... Okay, I got to ask Sissel the question because I always put her on the
no.
spot. Okay, Sissel, what'd you think of the show? Anything strike you?
A lot did, because we talked about a lot of different subjects.
Covered a lot of ground, yeah.
Definitely. I was so excited about when I was reading your rundown this week about the Box of Joys, because I always forget about it, and I'm always too late. Because, right, like you said, it's a Christmas thing, so you think Christmas,
Yeah.
but it's ends kind of after October. You have to kind of book it before then. Before
Okay.
October 31st, you have to get the supplies. And so I was like, oh, yes, for once, I'm going to get it this year. And it's perfect because my young adult group at my parish does a service project every month, and we were looking for one for October. So now we found it.
Yeah, and it really is. Yeah, because you're not thinking Christmas quite yet,
No.
but you got to plan ahead, and it really is
Absolutely.
nice for the reasons I explained.
This is
with
the one
kids.
time you feel good about thinking of Christmas too early. You know when you go to
Right.
like
Yes.
Walmart or Target and
Yeah,
like I went to
yeah.
go get my kids Halloween costumes.
Right.
And you have to go through the Christmas stuff to get to the Halloween costumes.
Already?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It went-
Hobby
I went-
Lobby's
and it
really
was
bad
2
too.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Or the stations
I'm good
to
with
start.
this one, though. I'm good
the
thinking
stations
about
start
Christmas
playing the
with this
Christmas
one.
music.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they stop December
Right.
26th.
I
So in
know.
my family, we set up the tree on the compromise is Gaudete. So we set up the tree
Gotcha.
Gaudete Sunday. I would like to do it Christmas Eve.
We-
But we set up
Ooh,
and then
that'd
we
be-
keep it
that
until
would be-
February 2nd.
We do too. February 2nd, we keep
Sweet.
all our stuff up. Oh,
Can,
yeah.
can I suggest
Oh, yeah.
set up the tree, but don't turn on the lights? See, that's what we do.
Right,
We
that's
set
an-
it
Oh, that's
up, but
cool.
and I
My
am-
kids are not listening
I'm like
because
I'm like a
they
dictator
wanna do
about
that.
that too. If I come
Yeah.
home and the lights are on and it's December 22nd, I'm like, turn the lights off. You can't have, you can't have the
Sweet.
lights on.
All the way until Christmas Day.
Yeah,
eh?
and if you wait until
That
like
is
the week
awesome.
before Christmas to buy your tree, you'll get it at like 80% off.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, because
That is so
all the
true.
lots are just like, hey, you can take this thing. I mean, you get a good tree for like $20.
A good tree,
Or
good.
$10, yeah.
Wow. See, my kids are 4 and 3 and 5 months, so I can just Truman show the whole thing and make them think this is the way it's done everywhere else.
Yes.
Like, you don't buy anything until Christmas Eve. Just I can really design it my way now.
Then they'll get
My
older and
mind's
be
You gotta
getting
homeschool
blown
them.
right now. This is awesome. Yeah.
Well, I grew up watching I Love Lucy, and I remember watching an episode, and they set up their tree on Christmas Eve, and so I was like, "Man,
I want
why
to show
is-"
that episode. to
Yeah,
my kids.
There you
exactly.
go.
They do, and so I think it was a little bit more traditional. to do
Everything
that.
was so good back in the 50s, you know?
I think it was
I
the
wouldn't
Second
know,
World
but-
War. This is what I heard. The Second World War. Let's get stuff to the soldiers.
Yeah.
So that's all great, but then the marketers salivated,
Ugh.
and they said after Thanksgiving we can start doing this.
And it's not like we're trying to shortchange the Christmas season. We have it for 2 weeks after Christmas. That's the
Exactly.
whole. Yeah. So it's not like we're saying we can only be these 2 days. No.
Advent is penitent. It's
Yes.
it's
Right.
got a penitential aspect.
Can I allow myself to interrupt? Joe
No.
McClain was really intrigued by the Antichrist topic, and he said, "Can you please talk about that?" And I see your water is down to like 2 molecules, so I want
Yeah.
to see if we can get a little bit more about the Antichrist before you.
We
have
should
to
do a
go.
show. We should do a show on the
About
Antichrist.
the Antichrist, yeah. Because you said the Antichrist has a guardian angel. The Antichrist may not even be born yet, though, right? You have to exist before you have an angel, right?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. No. So but here's the thing about the Antichrist is John, I recommend. So Joe, if Joe and his listeners want a recommended reading, it's on the internet, public domain. John Henry Newman, patristical idea of the Antichrist. Okay, that's the title. There are 4 essays. Also, there's another cardinal. The Crisis of the Holy See, This Present Crisis of the Holy See by Cardinal Manning. He talks about the Antichrist in that essay too. And very complimentary essays, both of those. So the Antichrist, we hear, John says the Antichrist is coming and many have already come. So we know that there's one to come, the big kahuna, if you will, but there are many that have already come. He says in his day, the early Christians thought Nero was an Antichrist. Now, St. Paul in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 talks about the man of sin, the man of lawlessness, who will sit in the temple of God and proclaim himself God, yada, yada. That harkens back to Daniel. There's a bunch of different vignettes, if you will, in Daniel about this figure. And then, of course, there's Revelation 13. All these aspects are strung together with Matthew 24 and false Christs. And this weird line in John where Jesus says, you reject me, I do not come in my own name, but another will come in his own name, and him you will receive. And the interpretation of the patristics is all these weird false Christs and what they're all the Antichrist. But what Newman says, it's really cool, is that in history there are partial realizations of this guy, so that at any time it could happen. Right? So back in Julian the Apostate in his time, it could have happened. That could have been the real Antichrist. But since history goes on, we know he's only a partial. So Newman's prescription is, like, you got the fundamentalist who told me, I'm 6th grade, the world's ending in 15 minutes. So we're all looking out the window.
Waiting for it to end.
We're all looking out the window, and then it didn't end, and we said, okay, well, they're jokers. Okay, so there are those who know definitively the Antichrist is coming here and now, and they wind up to be a joke. Then there are the demythologizers who say it's just a poetic image. But the real thing is there really are Antichrist figures throughout history, but we never know when the real one is coming. But when he comes, he'll be bad.
And they were like the partial versions of what the real one will be?
Yes.
So if all those were that bad, like that one's going to be even worse.
Bingo. That's Newman.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. History tells us what the prophecy means.
And what to look out for,
Yes.
and like what sort of characteristics have been in the past, so you kind of know what to expect. But the way you're saying it too, like we're all still going to fall for it. The world's going to fall for it.
So that's the scary thing, because Christ says in Matthew that the days are shortened because even the elect might have been led astray.
Wow.
So, Hildegard of Bingen, my daughter's reading about Hildegard. She had visions, and her...
The saint, right?
Saint and doctor of the church.
Yeah, most recent one, right?
She rocks the free world. I mean, we're talking 12th century woman who gave advice to popes.
She's like the warrior,
I don't think anybody pays...
Was she
Maybe. She was an abbess.
Okay.
She wrote the most beautiful chants.
Wow.
I think she's been largely ignored. I mean,
Absolutely.
when Therese of Lisieux was named a doctor of the church, I think, what was that, the 90s?
Yeah, that was a big to-do.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, of course, she's a very unique doctor, and she's very
great
relatable.
for today, especially.
But this, and I don't even...
Hildegard is amazing.
Nobody talks about it.
Towering intellect. Towering intellect.
I know what I'm reading
Amazing
all
woman.
weekend.
Please do.
Newman, Hildegard,
and listen to the album. If you want to get an album, a beautiful one that's performed really well, Feather on the Breath of God, because there's a lot of New Agers who do her music, and they kind of do it in spacey. They add weird things.
In their New Agey way, yeah.
By Gothic Voices, is that
Gothic Voices, they do a pure version, and those singers can belt it out. They her nuns had such a range. Back then, people had a very limited range. Her nuns had an amazing range, so she pushed them with her compositions.
Wow. What were you saying about Hildegard in relation to the Antichrist stuff?
So she talks about this Antichrist, and she goes more beyond the patristics. I don't know if it's her private visions or what, but she says he's going to work all these amazing miracles, quasi-miracles, such as making people sick and then healing them. So he sends evil spirits to ruin their organic balance, and then he takes them away or tells them to take away, and then they recover their health. So he gets quasi killed. Like he lets people kill him, and then he rises from the dead. And then his big thing is he's going to ascend into heaven, and at that point he gets struck by lightning. Now there's a painting in Rome, and not in Rome, but in Orvieto, with the, if you've been there, right?
I have,
with the Antichrist there, Signorelli, I believe it is, his chapel. He and Michelangelo actually learned from him a little bit, and I think from each other. But he's got this beautiful Antichrist figure in that chapel, Signorelli's chapel, and in there you see the episode of the Antichrist trying to go up to heaven, and then an angel striking him down, dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Bellarmine, Robert.
He's awesome.
Robert,
absolutely.
yeah.
Go ahead and read Bellarmine on it, because he puts everything together.
Yeah. Well, that may be a good topic for a whole show, because we really didn't get into it a whole lot on the radio show.
It's
today,
on people's minds.
Yeah.
Especially with this, Revelation, the buy, sell. You can't buy or sell unless you have the mark of the beast.
Yeah. And
that's getting close to home.
Yeah. I mean, they could do it now. I mean, and people are worried
cashless
about
society.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, have you noticed that you can't get change at some stores now? They're starting to take change out.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's the coin shortage.
Shortage.
Yeah.
What's behind that? Other than
I got all the coins. It's on my vacation fund.
You got it all.
I know they're like in the bottom of women's purses.
I got a big jar of coins.
I got a jar.
Yeah.
We have Coin Day where we wrap them, but now we're, I guess, keeping them, huh?
Yeah.
Save them. They're precious.
You're going to be able to sell them and flip them.
All right. So anything else? Like Sissel said, we hit on a lot of topics today. President Trump. I mean, that was shocking news. When
I really hope he's got the hydroxy.
Yeah. It probably hit around midnight or 1 o'clock yesterday.
Wow.
Like it was when everyone was asleep. Is when they released it. I guess they probably didn't want to let it out at a good time. You know what I mean?
Got to keep praying. I tell you, we're praying with this novena thing.
Oh, yes.
I told you about the early rosary. Conversion of the nation and protection on the election. That's what our intention is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's, how old is he?
74.
74, but he seems like a very energetic, vibrant 74. And I think that, I don't know if he has underlying conditions or not. I heard actually Dr. Gupta on CNN say, like 95% chance that he's going to get through this, even at his age, and that's pretty good odds,
Yeah. I mean, if you look at pictures of presidents, how they age, like Obama aged so much over 8 years.
Yes.
Bush too. Clinton. Trump hasn't aged at all since he came down the Trump Tower escalators and announced his presidency. He looks the same.
His temperament is suited for the presidency. Yeah. I mean, all the attacks. I mean, although I will say, if you look at him in the debates 4 years ago and him in the debate the other night, he was more agitated. He looked more frustrated. He looked like he was having more fun 4 years ago. Remember those in those primary debates?
It was hilarious.
Oh, he was
like watching a stand-up comedy for 2.5 hours.
I know.
It was amazing.
But he had no record to go by. There was nothing you can criticize him because he had never held office. So there was nothing people could nail him on. And now all of a sudden he's got 4 years of a record.
He's frustrated too because they ask him the same questions they've asked him over and over and over and over again. Denounce this, denounce that. I'm on record here, and here saying it. Why do you keep asking me these questions? Mm-hmm. So I think for him too, he's just reached the point where he's just,
I think that's why he interrupts so much.
Millions of times.
Gets frustrated.
I see still, why not say, yes, I denounce all hate groups.
He messed up the answer, no doubt about that.
Yeah. Just get it over with and move on.
He was given
a little bit of humility.
Layups and slam dunks he was given, and he didn't take any of them.
I think Al Cresto was saying that he seemed very almost confident to an extent and wasn't, so that's why he was being a little bit flamboyant about the whole thing. So that probably was the best decision.
Yeah, he should have said, of course I denounce them, and then immediately turn to Biden and say,
do you denounce BLM?
Yeah, exactly.
Lord knows Chris Wallace wasn't going to ask him to do that. And then the other thing is Chris Wallace asked Biden about packing the court.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Biden wouldn't answer.
Eliminating the filibuster and then packing the court. And Biden looks into the camera and starts talking about, you need to get out and vote.
Yeah.
And he said, and any debate moderator should have immediately said, sir,
that's not what I asked.
Yeah, you didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
But what did he do? He said, on to the next topic.
Yeah.
It was not.
And it's unfortunate because I think the the bungling of the white supremacy answers taking over so much of the headlines.
Right.
When, Biden didn't denounce
There
Antifa,
was a lot of things that
denied they existed. He didn't talk about packing the Supreme Court.
He has no law group that he can name that supports him.
Or police
that was
groups
a good
and
moment.
police and sheriffs and chiefs from all around the country.
Did you see Telemundo did a poll? Did you see that?
65% said Trump won.
Because the conventional
debate.
wisdom is
I
that
heard about
Hispanics, and I think the only
So now I have
Hispanic
it.
in the room.
Telemundo did that, huh?
Yeah, they did a poll afterwards. Who do you think won? And it was vast majority
You see their
Trump.
faces too. They're just like 65%. Moving on.
Yeah. What's the
They
next
weren't
step?
expecting
So
it.
they were not happy about that.
No, of course not.
Okay.
And it's interesting because the Latino culture is typically Democrat in the sense that they've been voting like that for generations. You ask many people, and that's why. It's just because my grandparents voted this way, my parents voted this way. But I think this election specifically is going to turn a lot of people.
So that's why I at the same time as I was annoyed by Trump, I thought he seems to always do better than I think he's done. And again, that doesn't mean it's a good strategy, like it's a good means, but he knows the means to the end. And even if it's a bad means, being obnoxious or whatever.
Right.
What about when Chris Wallace said, "Now, President Trump, you hold big rallies," and Trump said, "Outside," and then he turns to Biden and he said, "Now, Biden, you are holding smaller rallies," and then Trump says, "That's because nobody will come." And even Chris Wallace started laughing, and he said, "No, seriously, nobody comes." I mean, you got to admit, not many politicians can draw the kind of crowds that 30, 40,000
It's
people.
incredible. He fills up football stadiums.
Yeah, I went to the rally as a journalist last fall here in Dallas, and I would love to go to the Democratic one as well if they had one. It was surreal inside the American Airlines Center at the Trump rally. It was pretty amazing. I just thought I had to go to one of these.
I've also read from someone from one side, from the other side, going to one of these rallies, and they were just like, so happy in there. Everyone's celebrating. Yeah. It's joyful. You go to the other side and it's all
patriotic. Yeah.
It's terrible. There's like a cloud over it. Everyone's mad and angry. And at the rallies for Trump, they're very joyful, celebration, music. Everyone's happy. Mm-hmm. It's very different. And this person was very biased towards it. And even they were like, "Yeah, this is a way different experience than I thought."
Yeah.
Well, you think of just comparing the protests, similar on different topic, but protests versus the pro-life march or like Pride March versus pro-life march. What happens at one? What happens at the other?
Yeah.
Hatred versus peaceful
joy. You have your kids there with you. It's awesome. It's happy.
Yeah.
And the LGBT marches, they may not be violent, but they're often lewd. And there's naked people and simulations and just kind of weird stuff. But you're right. The pro-life march, it's, parents with strollers and happy people, and nobody's yelling or screaming or cursing.
Except for the 6 people with the signs that say the Pope is the Antichrist.
Right.
With the bull
forget
horns.
about that.
There's like 6 of them, but they have bull horns and they're
Interesting.
laughing.
When they finally thought they found one person at a pro-life rally who was doing something horrible, Nick Sandman, they finally found the scoundrel, right?
The highest paid employee at CNN. Man.
And even he wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
As has been proven.
It was pretty awesome watching him give a speech on CNN as the highest paid employee of CNN at the RNC. That was pretty nice.
That was good. All right. Well, any last thoughts? Diane, do you have anything Diane's... all right.
I was thinking earlier, you said that Diane always laughs at us while we're on the air. And you know why? It's because she is not the one who has her face on camera at 8 a.m. in the morning. Like, that's why she's laughing. She goes, ha, I get to control them.
I still find it uncomfortable because I sometimes forget that I'm on and, you can't, you got to...
If you don't
you
stop
make sure
me,
you brush your teeth.
Right.
If you don't stop me, I'll stay here till noon talking about whatever. So
because
done.
if we have a guest on or we need to get the guest off, or there's some kind of like inside baseball stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and we need to, and I've got to like smile and hey, so there's some things that we need to communicate that we may not want the whole world to know. But anyways, that's the new normal. We do Facebook, we do YouTube and Twitter, and it's good. And Diane does a great job with it. Thank you,
Yes.
Diane.
Thank you.
All right. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And thanks for bringing the heavy theological weight with the
That's
Easter
fun.
stuff. Yeah.
That's fun.
That was awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good weekend.
You too.
And don't forget about Life Chain. I'm going to try to get my family out there on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get your box of joy. The checklist. All the things you got to do.
Yeah.
I know.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
God bless.
God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Have a good weekend.